The Last Clue is a production of Smith Media Team, LLC. If you have any information about this case, please email us at info@smithmediateamllc.com. Listener discretion is advised. Some content may be upsetting to listeners.
Nearly 13 years after a teenage girl and an adult male went missing in rural Oklahoma, we may finally have answers regarding their disappearance. But those answers are not as clear as many believe them to be. Remains have been found, names have resurfaced, and accusations are louder than ever, and justice may still be far away.
Before we get started, though, we want to welcome our new listeners and subscribers from Council Bluffs, Iowa, Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
I have a feeling I might know who that is.
Oh, care to share or no?
I wonder if that's our fun breaker.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Possibly Mr. Chris. We'll leave that. He'll let us know if that's him.
Okay. Fullerton, California, and Sydney, Australia.
That's Rhea Ripley.
It has to be.
She listens to the show.
Yeah, well, I sure hope so. Although
Call
she's
the
from
hotline.
We don't have a hotline.
What a rinky-dink operation.
Well, and she's from South Adelaide too, but okay. Anyway.
She spent time in Sydney. Whoa.
Oh.
I did not realize what I just said.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you didn't. But wherever you're listening from tonight, thank you for being a part of this community. You can follow The Last Clue wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and many more. And for exclusive content, please subscribe on Buzzsprout, just $5 a month, and you can do one-time support. You don't have to subscribe monthly.
One time? So I can send you 50 cents? 50 cents?
You sure can.
Okay.
Kind of like Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, but just one-time support. And as always, though, keep searching for The Last Clue. And before we really dive into this, I have to ask, how are you?
I'm all right. Been a little bit of a struggle. But
It's been a month, hasn't it? Been a bit of a month for you?
Just a tad. So we've been absent other than social media. We've stayed interactive on social media, but we've been absent. I did have a surgery. I got hair extensions, so we're excited about that.
Nobody believes you if they've listened to the podcast because you complain about your hair getting long all the time.
That's true. Sorry, I lied about that. I had a testicle removed.
From your anus? Testes?
Typically
Scrotum?
where testicles are.
Yeah, well, that's also a lie. So strike two.
So for the first time in my life, over 50 years, I had a hernia. I refer to it that way. She has the more appropriate medical term for it. I don't know. I just know I have a hernia. I'm at the base of it all. I'm still just a guy. I'm dumb. I don't. I can't hear anymore. I barely listen. The second most used word in our house is what. So, I had a hernia.
Yes. He had an inguinal hernia and it had to be surgically repaired. It was about the size of a softball, so recovery took a little bit longer than expected. And once recovery was going really well, then life said, hold my beer.
We have for a long time, and for those of you that know us, had semi-adopted a husky that was in our neighborhood. It belonged to someone else, but it kept coming to our house because it knew that I liked to grill on the weekends, et cetera, et cetera. And so the husky would escape its first house and come to its second house.
The vacation home.
It's the vacation home. It spent holidays with us. I know it spent at least one Thanksgiving, one Christmas.
He did.
Probably an Easter. Who knows? But we had always wanted a husky. We had the opportunity to bring a husky into our home. I have some questions for the organization that brought us said husky, because I don't think that this dog is more than 15% husky. I think he is probably 70% wolf.
He's still beautiful, but no, we're going to say the organization because we really support them. But Earth Mother Outreach and Rescue did get us in touch with someone that needed to rehome their husky. So Yuki/Wemby is here.
Amanda, I'd like to have a word about this wolf once this podcast is over.
And then on top of the hernia repair surgery, adopting a husky.
I was just getting ready to go back to work the day before going back to work. And the delivery of the husky was delayed into the evening. And we were in the midst of a very, very cold weather event where it was icy, a little snowy.
No, it was a lot snowy.
It was a lot snowy. And our swimming pool in the backyard had ice over the top of it. I'm telling you that for a reason. Huskies love cold weather. That's how I know he's a little bit husky. I still say he's wolf.
Huskies also love water.
So we get said husky, the newly named Wemby, here at the house. We want to acclimate him. We let him acclimate inside the house, take him outside. Again, I've been off work for a week and a half. I'm getting ready to go back to work. And I want you to picture
this, Sicily, 1892.
That's this husky. There's probably pictures on our Facebook page. If not, there will be after this. So the husky and our other large dog, Bandit, who's about 65, 70 pounds, good boy. They are running around the yard, having a good time. And all of a sudden, I'm at the shallow end of the pool, and I look down, and I see Wemby standing very pretty, beautiful dog in the moonlight, standing at the deep end. His curiosity abounds. He's looking around, and then all of a sudden, like out of a cartoon, he looks down at the pool, and I was like, he's getting his curiosity on. And no more do I have that thought pass through what's left of my brain. This dog jumps off all fours, not 2 and 2, all fours, jumps straight up and straight onto the ice in the deep end and breaks through the ice. So here I am going, S.
You just had surgery. You are restricted from activity. You are restricted from lifting.
Over 10 pounds. When you see the pictures of this dog, you'll realize
It's a husky. They're born over 10 pounds. I know that's an exaggeration, but come on.
One of his bones is 10 pounds. So I go to the deep end of the pool, grab it. He has no collar. There's nothing on this dog. I have nothing to grab a hold of. So I lay down as quickly as I possibly can on the side that I did not have surgery on, reach into the frigid waters of the pool, get a hold of his paws, get him close enough to me, get underneath his front legs, and pull him out of the water. Now, after all of this, he gallops off, and I'm laying there, and all I can do is go, help, help.
I hear nothing.
Not a thing. I laid there as long as I could, which was only a few minutes. It wasn't, we're not talking about the movie Alive or anything like that. It's just a couple of minutes. But finally, I just had to grab what strength I had and just push myself. I could not reach the diving board. So I had to push off on the concrete and just push myself up into kind of a sitting position. At that point, Wemby got curious as to what I was doing. I did not need Wemby's help at that point. He had already helped enough. And I finally got to a walking position. I get all the way inside. And mind you, I am sitting in the warmth of my house before all this happens. I am in a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, because I am in the warmth of my home. I walk inside, and I am just soaked in
head to toe
water. And my partner in crime here utters the phrase, "What happened?" "Wimby happened." So I went quickly, got changed. I probably should have jumped into a warm shower at that point. But Wimby experienced the swimming pool within the first probably 30 to 45 minutes he was in our home.
Yeah.
And has not got in it since.
Not the pool. He has discovered the koi pond. It does not have koi in it. It's an empty pond, so it's basically a
We have
husky
two
mud spa.
of those, and he would just get in one, and then he finally discovered the other one because he had taken all of the water out of the first one. He's completely drained. It's just like nothing on the bottom now.
So, in the course of a month, and thank you guys for hanging with us. Thank you for sticking with us. We promise we did not abandon you.
Thank you for interacting.
Thank
with
you
us
for
on social
everything.
media.
So we just wanted you to know what was happening. So in the course of the month that we have taken time off from the podcast,
Time off.
he has had surgery, adopted a dog. We have retrieved said dog from pool, and now was diagnosed with strep. So it's been a month. It's been a month, guys. We have not been sitting here going, it's time for a break.
Yeah, we reached our success point.
No,
we're
no.
going to take a break, put on our bling.
It was literally lifing. So thank you so much for hanging with us, sticking with us and everything, and being interactive and sweet and supportive. But we are back. And today, what are we talking about?
On July 7th, 2013, 17-year-old Molly Miller and 21-year-old Colt Haynes disappeared after a police chase in Love County, Oklahoma. According to records compiled by the Charlie Project and Oklahoma Cold Cases, that evening, Molly was in Wilson, Oklahoma, and Colt was with her. The two left a gathering and ended up in a 2012 Honda Accord driven by one James Con Nip. Now, there are a couple of stories floating around. The most prominent, of course, was featured in a documentary that Con Nip, as he was known.
Interesting nickname.
Very interesting. He liked to antagonize law enforcement because he had family who was very prominent in law enforcement and seemed to be able to get out of trouble whenever he was in it.
I think I saw and heard some references to old Sheriff Joe Russell in them there parts.
So, as the story goes, Con Nip driving this Honda Accord, driving through the town of Wilson, spots an officer in a parking lot and proceeds to drive by him at a very high rate of speed.
I think he spun in a lot one time or a couple of times where
he went by the officer and the officer didn't bite. So he turned around, went back to the parking lot where the officer was and spun donuts in the lot.
spewed up stuffs.
Yep. Onto the officer's car, which instigated the traffic stop. And this is all part of one of the couple of documentaries that we've seen on this.
Accounts we've heard.
And police reports.
So when you attempt a traffic stop and the vehicle does not pull over, what happens?
Well, a pursuit.
Oh, well, that sounds interesting. I wouldn't say fun.
Doesn't sound like fun. I'm not saying I've never done it. I'm just saying it doesn't sound like fun, especially at my age. So the car flees. The pursuit begins. Speeds reach well over 100 miles an hour in this pursuit. This chase stretched over many rural roads into the darkness, through terrain locals know can turn unforgiving very quickly.
Dead ends, the whole lot.
Now, multiple officers are involved in this pursuit when they get a call from the sheriff telling them to terminate the pursuit. And Con Nip and his passengers are basically free to go. When the sheriff says stop, you stop.
Unless you're Con Nip, you don't stop.
Correct.
So Con, Molly, and Colt eventually wrecked near a wooded area.
So when they wreck, Con Nip goes home. Molly and Colt didn't. And the car was found abandoned. This is the last confirmed time Molly or Colt was seen alive.
Now, they were heard from.
Correct.
They reportedly called several friends to come help them, come get them out of this wooded area. But their friends were looking for them and honking, trying to find them and figure out where they were to bring them home.
One of the 911 calls originated from Molly's phone, and when the 911 operator picked up, all the 911 operator could hear was the punching of buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And the call was less than 10 seconds.
And eventually their phones died. So they were heard from after this accident, and they were looked for immediately following this accident. But there was... They were never seen again.
And this is a search that included friends and family members, some on all-terrain vehicles, going through brush and ravines. Law enforcement did join in and somewhat assisted looking for the pair. That's one of the many pieces of the story that's up for debate is how hard law enforcement actually did look for these two.
Where there's a lot of, and we'll get into it. There's a lot here. It's an onion.
But there's no trace of Molly Miller or Colt Haynes. No trace. Nothing found. No clothing. No remains. Just absence. And when you're talking about missing persons, days turn into weeks. The questions intensified. This is a small town. Everyone knows everyone. A lot of families are related to each other by either blood or marriage. Mm-hmm. You're talking about small town Oklahoma. And in small town Oklahoma, I know when I grew up in small town Oklahoma, if I did something in school, if I did something in school, my mother knew about it before I got home. She knew. When I called to tell her that I was home, that I had just gotten off the bus or gotten home. She knew what I had done in school. And the town I grew up in is significantly larger than what we're talking about here. So everybody is in everybody's business. I've only been to this town a handful of times. I can tell you that the town cafe knows everything.
Mm. So my question, why do you think they would run into unfamiliar woods if they were unfamiliar? But why would they run into the woods at night?
There seems to be no plausible reason for that, in my opinion, other than if they were chased into the woods. And I don't want to simplify this into Hollywood, but if you're in a horror movie and you are on the edge of the woods and it's dark, there is really only one reason why you would flee into the woods, and that's because you're being chased. That is pure speculation on my part, but I can tell you, even in my bold teenage years, if I was standing by the road and by a car, whether it was crashed or not, I'm not going into the woods for recreation. I'm going into the woods because someone is chasing me into the woods. That's the only reason I'm going into the woods, unless it's to go pee.
Hiding something. So these questions remain.
But one of these people fled the crash site and went home with the responsibility of having two other people in his vehicle. He left the crash site and went home. Looking at that, standing back and taking a look at that situation, that would appear that either he was going for help or there is a bit of guilt as to what transpired after that car crashed. Your thoughts?
It has to be, because wouldn't you think, again, my thoughts, I would think if he is headed home and he is going for help, help would have arrived immediately, if not shortly thereafter.
Especially with his very well-known family history and connection to law enforcement. If nothing was done wrong other than being chased by the police at over 100 miles an hour.
Hey, Uncle Sheriff Joe.
I need help. I have crashed my vehicle. There may be someone injured. I need help. You two stay here. Stay by the car. I am going to get help. Do not leave the car unless the car is on fire.
That's fair.
I mean, is that simple enough?
If those are instructions given, even if they're not instructions given, and I'm a passenger in the vehicle, I'm injured, and somebody tells me that I trust that they're going home and they're going to get help, I trust they're going to get help, and I'm staying put.
But these stories started shifting. At first, it became, I went home. When I left, they were okay. And then there were some other tales that came from this, that the stories didn't seem to be adding, which if you followed true crime or if you watch true crime, which I would hope you do if you're listening to this podcast.
I hope so. If not, thank you for following us.
I mean, I don't feel like you're listening just 100% for entertainment value.
I don't know. You're pretty entertaining.
But if the stories start changing, if the facts in the story coming from one person, because you are listening to one person right now, you don't have the other two people to tell their side of the story. You've got one person. Basically, you've got one person in an interrogation room. You're talking to them. You're getting that story. If that story starts changing, then any good investigator would think that person's lying. I mean, you can fudge on a fact here and there and say, listen, I misremembered. I was in a car crash. Everything was fuzzy.
I was in shock.
It's now becoming clear. This happened. I get that.
You come forth and say, I forgot to tell you.
Exactly. You come forth. That didn't happen here.
No, and you've got two missing people that have had to reach out to friends and family members to come find them, come help them. Accounts that one of them that Colt had climbed a tree to try to figure out where they were, and that he had fallen out of that tree, broke his ankle, was laying there in a riverbed, coughing up blood, looking for help, and nobody could find him. But yet, someone, the driver of that vehicle, is at home.
And the most critical part of this story to me at the beginning is, why did this case start to stall so early on in this investigation? You have a young man who is known not only through the town, but also with law enforcement, that led officers on a high-speed, dangerous chase. And you've got two people missing, and this case stalls that early? It doesn't add up. And for years...
Something stinks in Denmark.
For years, the disappearance of Molly and Colt lingered as one of Oklahoma's most troubling unsolved cases. And I want to repeat that for just a second. If you've heard any of our podcasts in the past, especially the ones in Oklahoma, the disappearance of Molly and Colt lingered as one of Oklahoma's most troubling unsolved cases. This is a state that is riddled with troubling unsolved cases. And this was at the top. And you've got a small town, nobody's talking. You've got one person that survived this crash that can tell the story, and he can't keep the story straight. This is not conjecture. This is not my opinion. This is all there. This is all there factually. He was not telling the same story twice. And one of Oklahoma's most troubling unsolved cases.
In the home of Karen Silkwood. Let that sink in.
The same as the girl in the picture. I mean, let's think about the amount of cases in Oklahoma. We have said this more than once. I know Dateline listens to us. We see the numbers. We see where our listens come from. We are amateur true crime investigators. We know who's listening. You're not going to surprise us. You have Karen Silkwood, as you mentioned. You've got the girl in the picture, a well-known documentary. You've got the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders. You have the only non-fiction book that John Grisham has ever written that came out of Ada, Oklahoma. And this is one of the most troubling unsolved cases in Oklahoma history. Just let that sink in for a second, because this is a state that is full of troubling unsolved cases.
It's true. And while you're letting that sink in, we've got families waiting, communities speculating, and then we have investigators that are now revisiting. And one name remained constant: James Con Nip.
Now, just this month, nearly 13 years after Molly and Colt vanished, a large-scale search operation unfolded in Love County. And this is on the heels of many large-scale searches. The Bureau of Indian Affairs Missing and Murdered Unit conducted coordinated search efforts along with state and local authorities. And according to multiple media outlets and the BIA statements, human remains have been discovered in a rural area connected to previous investigative interests.
Now, let us say that the Bureau of Indian Affairs got involved because Molly is part Chickasaw.
Correct.
Okay, and we want to make that clear. I don't know that they were involved in the initial search. So
the remains were recovered carefully. The area had reportedly been searched before.
This is conflicting. This is where we're talking about the conflicting information.
So we've seen both. We have seen that this was a new area that wasn't able to be looked at before because of prior ownership. And we have seen that this area had been searched before. This is a huge, you're talking about basically, and I don't mean to simplify it, but basically farmland. You're talking about a lot of brush. You're talking about a lot of grass. You're talking a lot of barbed wire fences. You're talking about a rural area. So one outlet may say that this area has never been searched before, but you take 10 steps to the west and that area has been researched, has been looked at. So in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of up in the air whether this area had been checked out before.
But also remember, terrain shifts, vegetation changes, and definitely time is going to alter the landscape. Authorities confirmed the remains are believed to be connected to the Molly Miller and Colt Haynes case.
Believed to be. That has not been confirmed at the time of this recording.
The DNA identification processes have begun. For the families, this moment was both devastating and clarifying. So it's a mixed bag of emotions for them right now.
And after nearly 13 years, there was finally something tangible. When you have a missing person and you don't have anything that has turned up of theirs, except for a phone, that's all you have. You don't have their remains to have a proper burial.
They don't have anything, no phones, no clothes, no nothing.
To be able to say goodbye properly, to be able to grieve properly. You're grieving this entire 13 years, but you don't have the ability to be able to grieve the way that someone should when something, especially as tragic as this, happens.
Philip R. Klein, president of Klein Investigations and Consulting, issued a public message following the discovery, as they have been on this case for many years. Been
featured in one of the documentaries about this case.
He thanked supporters and noted that in 24 hours, there had been over 700,000 interactions online. But he cautioned the public. He emphasized victims' families are grieving. Stop being keyboard detectives.
Which is something that we hit on during the R.J. Davis case. You cannot be a keyboard detective. You cannot report things that you don't know to be true. Everyone wants to be Anderson Cooper. Everyone wants to be Wolf Blitzer. Everyone wants to be the first name on court TV. You're not breaking news if it's not true. You're breaking fiction.
Right. And we even said this in the Jesse Mack Butler case. You have to be very careful of what you say online.
Because people with the Jesse Mack Butler case were sharing videos that had absolutely nothing to do with the Jesse Mack Butler case, and they were making it look like these were videos that were caught of him doing the
Heinous
things that he has been accused of, one of which was from a film.
Yeah.
It was not as strongly as you feel about the Jesse Mack Butler case. You can't take a clip from a film and say, this is what he did. That is absolutely 100% false, and you're helping his defense. The same here. You can't spout off any inane thought that pops into your skull because you are helping the defense of the person that should potentially be prosecuted for it.
should or could. So we'll leave it at that. Stop being keyboard detectives. I personally just might add, stop being a keyboard warrior. Anyway, Philip Klein, back to his statement. You do not know everything investigators know. There may be a trial one day, which is what you had just hit on. Pray for healing.
Mr. Klein wrote, quote, "There is so much more to this story. Now comes the push for justice, which is a bigger bag of worms," end quote. He also warned that what the public knows is only what investigators have chosen to release. And he reminded communities that legal strategy matters because when remains are found, the investigation doesn't end, it evolves, and the legal burden becomes even heavier.
From the beginning, one individual has remained central to this case, James Con Knipp, and we've been talking about him. He was driving the vehicle. He fled from the police. He returned home. The car was later located abandoned. He stated Molly and Colt ran into the woods. Over the years, accusations have pointed squarely at him.
Family members have publicly alleged he knows far more than he's admitted. Online communities have dissected every statement. Critics question why he was not charged earlier, and supporters argue that law enforcement must build a case carefully. The discovery of these remains re-intensifies all of this scrutiny. If the remains are confirmed to be Molly and Colt, investigators will now analyze the cause of death, the location patterns, forensic evidence, and timeline contradictions. But the question that's hovered for nearly 13 years is now unavoidable. Did Con Knipp leave that crash scene alone? Or did something happen before Molly and Colt ever reached the woods? Again, as of this recording, no new charges have been announced tied to the remains discovery. But investigators have stated the case remains active and that justice remains the goal.
The narrative becomes more complicated when you consider statements made by Monique Haynes Stewart, Colt Haynes' sister. In March 2024, she publicly declared that her family believes Jesse Haynes murdered Colt and Molly. She alleged that Jesse had threatened to kill Colt over a relationship involving Jesse's girlfriend. It's important to note that Monique Haynes is not only the sister to Colt Haynes, but also to Jesse Haynes. So this is an alleged family on family murder.
And this is in black and white writing from her.
Yes.
This is not speculation from us. This is public writing of these accusations.
Yes.
She claimed that Jesse said he would stab Colt.
Yes. She alleged Jesse had a history of violence, including a 2007 arrest involving assault with a dangerous weapon. She accused podcasters and private investigators of pushing the wrong narrative. She stated her family believes Con Nip is innocent, and these are serious allegations.
And that bears repeating. She stated her family, she is putting herself as the spokesperson. She stated her family believes Con Nip is innocent. These are claims that are made publicly by a grieving family member. These are not court findings. They are not charges, but they do reflect deep fracture lines in this case. When families disagree, when investigators are criticized, when suspects multiply, the path to justice becomes more complex.
One of the most recent things I have seen online is comments on social media from Monique stating, "I only know more than most of you combined," and he admitted it to one of his friends in vivid details. "I am not interested in blaming or prosecuting the wrong person." I find that interesting.
And now we are going to end our show with a popular segment, an opinion segment known as Clueless.
Clueless?
13 years. 13 years of silence. 13 years of accusations. 13 years of narrative control battles. Now remains are found, and suddenly everyone thinks it's solved. It isn't. A discovery is not a conviction. A suspect is not a verdict. An outrage is not evidence. You cannot arrest someone because social media says so. You cannot convict someone because a podcast narrative is compelling, even ours. And you cannot undo 13 years of investigative stagnation overnight. If Con Nip is responsible, prove it. If Jesse Haynes is responsible, prove it. If someone else entirely is responsible, prove it. Because justice is not built on an assumption. It's built on evidence. Families deserve the truth, but they deserve it the right way. Until charges are filed and convictions are secured, this case remains what it has been for nearly 13 years, unresolved.
The Last Clue is a production of Smith Media Team, LLC. If you have any information regarding this case, please email us at info@smithmediateamllc.com. You can follow The Last Clue wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and many more. Follow us on Facebook at The Last Clue. And for exclusive content, subscribe on Buzzsprout for $5 per month. As always, keep searching for The Last Clue.